Welcome to the Financial Services Expo. My name is Andrew Montlake and I'm delighted to be joined by Peter Brodnicki, who is the CEO of Mortgage Advice Bureau. Welcome, Peter.
Hi, Monty.
So, first of all, what's your overview of the market at the moment? I know intermediaries have been in the ascendancy for a while. Do you see that continuing post-Brexit? Do you see any real issues?
I don't think Brexit's got anything to do probably in terms of how intermediaries will perform. I think it's just generally how the market's performing. So, generally I think things are holding up pretty well, certainly from our perspective. It slightly differs from most people you talk to, but generally, although we've gone straight from Brexit into the summer months, and although there was a little bit of an impact, pre-Brexit we had a spike in the first quarter, and then the dip maybe in the second quarter, which is because of the spike and also because of maybe a bit of pre-Brexit. Then it's pretty much just stabled out. And then we've had the holiday season. It's been a decent start to September. So, to be honest, I think it's just business as usual. I don't really see, we've been operating in a flat transactional market now for the last 2 years, both in terms of mortgage volumes, not value, and in terms of, house sale volumes. So I really don't see that fundamentally changing because of Brexit. We're in a market where it's about market share. Each individual broker, each individual business, we're in a flat environment. Brexit's had a bit of a hiccup, and I think nothing really that's going to change the world dramatically. We just got to get on with it.
Are you seeing differences regionally in terms of is London still very different to the rest of the country? Because I know you're MOB and national. So
you guys are in London. You're doing pretty well. I think that it depends really what type of market you're operating in. I think the last recession taught us that if you're specialising in one area too much, if something goes wrong, it can inadvertently affect your business. If you've got a pretty broad base of business, it's not going to be such a big issue. And again, that also reflects the sort of geographic territory that you cover. So again, in the recession, if you were specifically buy-to-let, you would have had an issue when the recession hit. And maybe now, with all the changes in buy-to-let, you might have an issue. So I think the lesson has always been, specialisation is really good, but it's maybe having a multidisciplined business with a broader base rather than just one area of specialisation.
One of the big things in the press at the moment is all about robo-advice. I know you've had so a lot of brokers are worried about how that's going to affect them. Are mortgage brokers going to be all replaced by computers? How do you see that going, and how do you think as an industry we should embrace that or deal with that challenge?
Robo-advice is an overused word. I think this is really what this always has been about and always will be about is the consumer. The consumer is the person that's changing. Technology is changing the behaviour of the consumer and what the consumer wants. And intermediaries have a USP that they'll always have, and that is they're independent. They can search across the whole market. No one's going to take that away from them. That's always going to be there. But the consumer also values quite considerably speed, ease and convenience. These are things which are really a commodity with a value to them. And in every day of our lives, whatever we do in our lives, sometimes we sacrifice value for convenience. And we probably do that more and more as time becomes more and more valuable to us. So of course, especially in a low interest environment, sometimes people will settle for convenience. So we as intermediaries have got to, if you've got a room full of people and half will settle for convenience, others will take the best deal, then that means you're only appealing to half the market if you can't deliver the other half. So, what we've got to start doing is delivering that, which hasn't been, that speed, ease and convenience in the intermediary sector combined with the independence. And if you manage to do both of those things, then I think you've got a very strong future. But models will change, and you have to have technology in your DNA. You can't just plonk technology onto advisors. Your business models have to be built with technology and that customer experience there from beginning to end. And in my experience, not enough businesses even have a defined customer experience that the brokers even understand, never mind the consumer. And until you have one, and until you can look at the technology and how that's going to make that whole process more efficient, you can't start changing your model. And of course, you need budget, if you're in a network, you need someone who's going to support you in terms of technology, not just transactional technology, but consumer-facing technology. So there's a lot to be done, and obviously now you're having, there's a lot of new suppliers coming in that can make that process quicker. We're going to be talking about far shorter mortgage applications from lenders and insurers. We're talking about electronic ID, electronic bank statements, everything that will make that administration part of the process of the advisor less and less, and
Good.
focusing on what, yeah, exactly.
Amen
But
to that,
focusing
yeah.
on the bit the advisor is actually there to do. But by definition, that does mean more capacity for advisors and technically less advisors. You know, but business models themselves have to change, and I think there'll be a new breed of intermediary, because all intermediary actually means is you want to have choice. You want to consider other options. It doesn't mean you need to consider other options and then sit in front of somebody and fill in a fact find for 3 hours and take advice in that. That's not what intermediary means. So I think sometimes people confuse those two things. And that leaves the market open for very technology-driven firms that can give a lot more consistency in the service they deliver and give the customer at the same time what they want. Advice and intermediary is an important role, but we've got to make ourselves indispensable. And I think sometimes our sector doesn't do that. And if we don't do that, technology will start filling those gaps.
So what as Mortgage Advice Bureau, what are you doing? How are you embracing technology?
Well, right from the beginning, you know, we've always built our own technology. We don't buy anything off the shelf that tries to sort of fit and, you know, helps us fill in forms. It's about the whole customer experience. And I mean the customer, it's about the consumer, the broker, and the lender, of course, all three. So we're lucky in a way because technology is in our DNA and it is something we're constantly evolving. We're not reliant on anybody else. So we're already building. I mean, we have to look at robo-advice models. We have robo-advice models linked to ourselves as a business. You know, that elements of that is the future, and we have to make sure we learn from that and we cascade it down to the very many different business models that operate under Mortgage Advice Bureau to help them incorporate into their business, advise them on how they need to change some of their business model to really make it work well. I suppose it's a bit like estate agents and people who quote purple bricks. There's no point being a traditional agent and then setting up a purple bricks version if you've still got the same overheads and the same processes. You know, they are different businesses built in different ways, and it's a lot easier for a new business to start up and build basically a customer experience based on technology and then drop people and marketing into that process rather than the other way around, because it's always harder for people to adapt to technology. And it's also dripped in quite often. But what will happen over the next few years, all these little changes will all link together suddenly and things will start to change very, very quickly. And we will see a new breed of intermediary, but not as we know it today. And I'm not necessarily just talking about robo-advice firms. So there is a challenge there. The intermediary market, overall, customers going and getting choice, I think is going to increase. You know, there's no specific reason why anybody should go direct to a lender, and I think that ethos will continue. But there will be two types of intermediary. The one we all know and love today, and another different one with very different commercial and sales process basis.
And do you think lenders will try and go it alone? Or are we too far down the road now where actually intermediaries are so ensconced in the process that they can't really just go back to the direct online only model? Do you think that people will actually go from A to Z without any human interaction at all?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't think there's always this debate, you know, is it lender, intermediary, do we work together? I mean, ultimately, it's the consumer has to go first, and I think if I was a lender, I'll do what the consumer needs, and the intermediary is either part of that or they're not. You know, we all need to work on this together, but we all have to change together as well. So, without a shadow of a doubt, there will be elements where advice won't be required, you know, and non-advised execution only. You know, there is a market for that, and I think with the technology coming in, that will be a growing market. That's still intermediated business because it's actually about choice, not direct to lender. But I think that will grow. There'll be some interesting changes, and I think they'll happen a lot quicker than you think.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time, Peter. Pleasure as always, and thank you very much for watching.